Alright, welcome. So this is another video going over the yieldmax ETFs. This one is ULTY. This is going over a 1-year investment of $10,000 into ULTY, and the share price on when I recorded this 1 year before that was $13.60, and that was on July 1st. So with a $10,000 investment, you would have 735.29 shares in this. This is going over using the dividend reinvestment. So instead of taking your own dividend and running with it, you are going to just rebuy new shares of ULTY and see how things go from there. So your first month is, the first dividend did come out at 99 cents per share. So for a $13.05 ETF, a 99-cent dividend is pretty big. So you had a total dividend of $731, and you're able to purchase 56 shares with that. So then bringing your total shares of ULTY up to 791.34. Your value went up just a little bit due to the increase in shares. And August 16th, it was 78 cents, and the price of ULTY did drop down to 10.91. However, with the 78 cents dividend for a ETF that's only worth $10.91, that's also huge. Your dividend that month was $617, and you were able to reinvest that again, and that did come back with 847 shares total. You were able to purchase another 56.60 shares. So in September, it was a 98-cent dividend, and the price of ULTY did drop down to 10.47. So overall, your total dividends now, just after 3 months, is $2,182. You were able to purchase another 79 shares with that, and bringing your total shares up to 927.51. However, with the dropping of the price of the ETF, your total return has actually went down 2.89%. However, you were able to profit $21.82 due to the dividends. In October, it was an 83-cent dividend, and you were able to purchase another 77 shares. So you have a total of just over 1,000. In November, it was an 83-cent dividend again, but the price of ULTY continued to drop, and now it's down to $9.73 per share. However, with the 83-cent dividend, you now have your total return up to 6.13%, and you now have a total of 1,090 shares of ULTY just after dripping your dividends. In December was 71 cents, and you were able to purchase another 82. In January, it went down to 57 cents. However, the price of ULTY is continuing to drop, and now it's down to $8.39 per share. So your overall total return looks horrible. It's at 5.13%. But when you look, you have $5,228 of dividends that you've been able to purchase so far. In February, the price did continue to drop, and now it's down to $8.18. The dividend also dropped a little bit down to 54 cents per share, and you now were able to purchase another 82 shares for a total of 1,335 shares. In March, things got different. So the yieldmax team went through and readjusted their strategy with this, changed the way that they were investing things, and now made this into a weekly dividend as opposed to a monthly dividend, kind of as a last-ditch effort, because they did see the NAV of ULTY continuing to drop, and now it's almost a little bit under half of the original value just from a few months ago. So it's down to $6.70. However, there was a 47-cent dividend on that, and that's huge for a $6.70 ETF to have 47 cents come back per share. So you're able to buy another 92 shares for a total of 1,428 shares. However, your total return did come down mostly because of the significant drop in the ULTY price. So now we're going to see it going as a weekly investment. So the total dividend looks like it's less. It's down to 10 cents. However, just remember that's per week. So with that 10 cent, you had another $146 purchasing another 22 shares, and that continues for a few weeks. does drop down to $5.55 per share with a 9-cent weekly dividend for a total return, however, of minus 15.60%. You now, however, do have a little over 1,500 shares of ULTY. You'll notice that the stock price kind of hovers around $5.50 to $5.90 for the next few weeks, and by the end of May does begin to climb back up above $6. The dividend also does continue to rise a little bit, and now it's up to 12 cents per week. So overall, you did get $190 for your dividend for that week, and you have now a total of $7,819 only from the dividends. As you continue to drip, your total shares of ULTY continues to increase, and you're now over double what you originally began with. Continuing through May, the price still hangs out around $6 per share with a 10 to 11 cent dividend, and then you continue to drip that in, and you continue to buy anywhere from 25 up to 27 shares, and you now are up to 1,781 shares per of ULTY. You're finally in the plus now for an 8.65% total return. And then through the remainder of June, continues around 610 to 630, and you continue to get the 9 to 10 cent dividend. And then I did run this all the way through the last month that we had, which was the August distribution of 1.008 cents. At the day that was released, it was at $6.03 per share. Overall, after a little over 1 year, you did accumulate quite a bit of ULTY shares. You're now up to 1,984, where you did start with 735. Also, with them going to the weekly distribution, it seems to have really stabilized the ETF price and the NAV, and now you're right around $6, where when they started going at that, it was right around $6.70. So it's dropped a little bit still. However, with the market fluctuations this month, it has dropped a little bit more, but it is starting to come back up. I believe it was around $6.10 at the end of close today. So overall, this is a pretty significant change when you are dripping the dividends. So after 1 month, after 1 year of putting $10,000 into ULTY and dripping the returns, you have a total dividend of $9,915. Your total value, however, is $11,964. So a total return of 19.65. That doesn't sound like the magic number. ULTY, once they changed to a weekly instead of monthly dividend, really increased in value, and I will go over what happens when they did the drip only since March. That'll be coming up next.